Hey everybody, it's Doug Schaut for 3 Max Oceanside of MakeMaineYourHome.com. In this week's episode, I am going to talk to you about investment properties. I talk to a lot of people that are buying like multi-units or even single families and looking to rent it out because, rents are going up. Even though prices of houses are coming up, a lot of times the numbers work to be able to buy those investment properties and rent it out. So I'm going to show you a quick spreadsheet that I made to just kind of help quickly show you how to calculate those, to see if a property makes sense. So let's do this. All right, guys, so again, we are going to talk about investment properties. And, before we dive into this, I just made a quick spreadsheet. It's really pretty simple, but I just kind of want to show you because what I run into a lot are people are like, oh, geez, I could pick that multi-unit up and, geez, the mortgage is only going to be this and the rents are this, and oh my God, I'm going to make all this money. But then, they forget about some of the other costs and expenses and things like that. So, a while back, I kind of made just a quick spreadsheet for, just normal everyday people. If you're out there looking for an investment property, you want to kind of quickly calculate out to see if the numbers sort of work. So then you can, decide if you want to go out and check it out and dive deeper into the actual expenses and everything like that. So anyway, first off, a couple things as we go through this. I am only talking about residential properties. I don't work with commercial properties very much. So those things just, I don't know enough about when there's a commercial component to it, like a storefront, things like that. That's a totally different subject. This is if you're looking at like a single family, a 2-family, 3 or 4 family, kind of like that thing. These could also work for the, the 10-unit buildings and things like that. But I'm talking about somebody who's maybe just looking at like a 2-unit and you want to do some quick calculations to see, if it's going to work for you or not. This is really what I'm gonna work with you on. So the first thing is the financing and like what your payment's going to be. All right. Now I'm going to pull up my phone here for you just to kind of show you. I use an app on my phone. It's a Zillow Mortgage. And, it helps you kind of do a quick calculation on what your payment's going to be. Now, I do recommend talk to a local lender, wherever you are. If you want to if you need a reference or a referral, just give me a call. I can get you in touch with somebody out there. But what I like to do is kind of figure out what my mortgage is going to be here after I've talked to a lender to see what's currently going on, like what my down payment's going to need to be and all that. When you do buy an investment property, more times than not, you're going to need more money down than maybe some of those programs out there for your primary residence. So again, talk to your lender, see what the best programs are for you, see how much money you need to put down, save up that money, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to assume that you have your down payment, ready to go and all that stuff. So I use, again, like I said, Zillow Mortgage, and it comes up here. You go over this menu, and it brings up payment calculator, and you go to that. All right, and I'm going to use, like as an example here. Let's say we're looking at a house that's $350,000. You can put your down payment in here. You can put your interest rate in. Interest rate for investment properties are typically higher than if it's your primary residence. So again, talk to your lender, find out like what those interest rates are, that type of thing. But you can also put right in this calculator, this is why I like this calculator, is you can put your property taxes, you can put your homeowner's insurance. If there happens to be any mortgage insurance, PMI in there, you can, check that off. You can put your loan term in there. Like if you're going to do a commercial loan and it's only a 20-year loan versus 30, you can change that and all that stuff. For this purposes, I'm going to show you, because I did talk to a lender recently that can do a 30-year loan on an investment property. You can see here after you type everything in, I did $350,000, 20% down. I bumped the interest rate up to 5%. It might be a little lower than that, but I always like to make sure that I'm shooting for the worst and maybe it's a surprise, and then property taxes, homeowners insurance. And if you scroll down here a little bit, I put in 30 years. You can see you can also add in like HOA dues if you're buying a condo. You can include mortgage insurance there. With 20% down, you shouldn't need that. So I just unchecked that box. So anyway, you can see it spits this out nice and big right there. $1,978 per month is going to be your mortgage. That's going to include your property taxes and your insurance and all that kind of stuff. All right, so that's the first thing, figure out, what your actual payment's gonna be. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can talk about. All right, great. So I'm sharing my screen. Now I can show you this little spreadsheet that I put together. It's very, very simple, okay? So what I did here was I took that, what was it, 1978 per month, and I put in there 2,000. I just rounded it. I always round up because I was like, hey, again, in case if I'm like wrong on something or off, then, I know that, that I'm kind of covering myself a little bit. So I put that in there. Now, coming down here, these are all just normal expenses that, should be on like every listing or every, property that you're looking at. The owner or the listing broker should be able to supply these. Now, in the MLS system that, of course, I'm a real estate broker, so I have access to the MLS system. A lot of times there's documents in there, and a lot of listing brokers will put those costs right in there. And I can pull them and send them off to you, or, if I'm behind, I can look at them myself and then plug these numbers in. All right. Sometimes those numbers aren't readily available. Maybe you don't want to bug the listing broker or bug me yet until, you're sure that you like them or like the property or it works for you. But all these numbers you can kind of figure out, or at least come up with some, something to put in there. Now, I like to calculate out on a monthly basis, just so I can see exactly what I'm getting on a monthly basis, and if the numbers make sense, okay? So for this property that we're talking about, 350,000, it's a 2-unit, and so I'm kind of going by just like what I've seen heating costs for a 2-unit, and like water and sewer, what those averages are. Because for this particular property, these numbers aren't readily available. So I'm kind of throwing them in there, and then this will help me decide if, hey, this is the worst case scenario. And then, I can go, if the numbers make sense, I can go to the listing broker, go to the MLS system and try to pull the exact numbers. So heating system, heating, I calculate out like $3,000 per year, calculate that out per month. Water and sewer, just kind of roughly from experience, I know is that. Electricity, oftentimes if it's a 2-unit, you're going to have your tenants paying their own electricity. All right, so, but I always like to kind of throw $50 a month in there just for, in case if the building has common areas that, the landlord has to pay that part or that piece of the electricity there. Now, we are in Maine, we're gonna have to plow. Maybe one of the tenants will plow for you. But again, if we're gonna have to plow, I just kind of have a blanket cost of like $40 a month through the whole year. Obviously, not plowing in the summer, but it will, it all works out that way. Mowing. This depends. Oftentimes, again, you can get a tenant to mow it. The property may not need to be mowed, depending on where it is. Like if it's downtown Portland and there's really no lawn, obviously you don't need to be mowed. So there, you might want to put in a number there. I usually calculate out, like a small yard might cost like $30 a mow, and you're probably going to do that a couple times a month through the summer, and then you get the total number, and then of course divide it by 12, and you got your monthly there. All right, trash removal, if you need to do that. Again, most cities, you just put it out on the street and the town takes it, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But sometimes you do in certain areas. So you can throw that number in there. Now, this savings one, I always like to put in there, depending on how many units are, what your comfort level is. Maybe if the building looks like it's going to need a lot of work, maybe I'm going to bump this up even more so you can start filling up those hoppers. It's extremely important to me to have that number, some sort of number in there, because every month you're going to want to be socking money away for whatever comes up. The tenant calls you and, hey, the sink just blew up and you got to fix some water damage and stuff like that. You're going to want to have some money sitting in a hopper there. All right. So then all this kind of comes down here and tallies this up. There's your total expenses. All right. So again, if you're looking at this thinking, oh my God, I can get a mortgage for $1,900 and, geez, it's making $3,400 in income, man, that's a home run. You got to make sure you got to put this in there. Okay. So here, again, in the MLS system, when you're looking at a listing, it should show you what the rents are. If they're filled, if there's tenants in each unit, you should easily be able to find out how much rent each tenant is paying. And sometimes heat's included in there. Sometimes tenants are paying the heat, okay? And that way, which is great, because then this number goes down to zero because the tenants are paying for it. Understand? So either way, you can get all that information. But the numbers that we're looking at here, we're able to kind of look at worst case scenario. All right. So this one here is 3,400 in income. In this particular scenario, heat is included in those rents, so you do have to account for paying for heat. All right. And then let's see. This management fee here, I'll talk about in a second. All right, so this vacancy number here, I like to have something in there, because if a tenant leaves, you're gonna wanna try to be able to cover some rent. So what I do is I take this $3,400 is your income per month. I divide that by 12, and that's what I put away. So after a year, you should have enough money in there to cover at least 1 month's rent. And then I just keep that in there, keep filling that hopper, okay? Eventually you can maybe shut that off or move it into like the savings column, so then you end up having a bunch more money, to take care of the building. But so your first year, you're kind of just like hoping that nobody leaves, or maybe, you can kind of check the leases and you can adjust that a little bit to see, like, if you're buying the property and the tenants just signed a new year lease, you can hope that those tenants are going to stay there for that whole year, and you can build up your hoppers that way. But you do want to bank on some sort of vacancy. All right. And then this net income is really what you're going to make on a monthly basis. And again, ideally, this is your worst case scenario on this particular property. But if that 480 a month is okay with you, that type of income on this type of property, then by all means, go out and check out the property, evaluate it, and all those types of things. And then you can also get more solid numbers from the brokers that has it listed, or the owner that owns the property. Get all those numbers, exact numbers, and then you can plug them in again and make sure that it's all going to work. And all this calculates out here. Now, this management fee here, I set to no, because I would want to manage my property myself. But some people might want to hire a property manager. Just from knowing the market, again, you can adjust this. I just did a little function here, but basically what this does is it takes 8%. So if I change this to yes, it's going to throw 8% in there on a monthly basis, because that's what a property manager around here might charge. Some are less, some are more, some have different types of payment options, or how they charge you. Again, talk to somebody in your local area. But this is like probably the highest numbers that I've seen as far as what people might charge around here. So I put that in there. Like, if I ever decided, like, hey, I want to hire a property manager, I can change this to yes and make sure that there's still some positive cash flow coming out. All right. And then, these are the numbers. This is what it'll work for now. Of course, you're also, whenever you invest in a property, you're looking at future growth too, appreciation of the property, rents going up over time, ideally, and all that. So, but anyway, I love to use this spreadsheet just to kind of do some quick analysis on a property and see if it's something that's worth taking a look at or not. All right, so hey, let me stop sharing this screen. All right, guys, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, or if you want to learn a little bit more about how to make this spreadsheet, let me know. I'm happy to help you out. Maybe even send you a copy so you can kind of make adjustments yourself. Just send me an email, leave comments below, give me a call, whatever you want. And remember, if you're going to make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone.